Hello and welcome to Bourbon Trail Explorer. This is your weekly whiskey news. It's actually been a while since we've done a weekly whiskey news. We were going to do one on Sunday, but due to technical difficulties, we couldn't get all parties involved. Little party down there is involved tonight. We couldn't get all parties involved on the chat. We're going to try and use Zoom for our next weekly whiskey live. And try and get everybody on board so that we can have multiple people on to discuss the news. And since it's been a while, we have quite a bit of news to discuss. But first, let me pour something. I'm going to pour some Cornerstone that will become relevant later on in the... Let's get a good pop. There we go. Get some bourbon in there, or rye in there. Fussy baby in the background, always fun. All right, so the first thing I want to discuss, because it's been a hot minute, is I went on the Reddit pick for New Riff. That was my second pick at New Riff, and it was quite a bit of fun. It was a great crew, and we blind picked the final sample, which was delicious and will be available soon. That one's going to be exciting. I'm excited to have my username on a bottle of whiskey. And sounds like we're torturing a baby in the background. I'm excited to have my username on that. That's going to be a really good bottle. Everything that's coming out of New Riff has been really good. I've been really excited about their rye. We got to sample their Balboa rye while we were there at Cask Strength. That was phenomenal. We also got to sample their 100% malted rye, and that was really, really excited. I'm excited for that. I think that's going to be their big seller in the future. So I will share details on our social media when I can share the full bottle details. That label is actually going to be really neat. It's not your traditional tater sticker. It's actually a really neat label. It's gone down in the bourbon world as of late, and that would be the drama of the Bourbon Pursuit podcast talking about interviewing the counterfeiter. Now, I remember this episode. It came out to patrons. I did not think it would be this dramatic. It was an interesting episode. It was good to see them come hard at the counterfeiter. A lot of people in the community are getting on them for going too hard at him, but not at retailers, for not asking him how he counterfeited the bottles. Man, I take the side that it was a great interview. They hit what they needed to hit, and I think that they came across just fine. There could be a whole other podcast on how people are counterfeiting bottles, but then the people that are counterfeiting would know that the people who are finding their counterfeits, how they're getting onto them. There's ups and downs to all of that. It's a bit silly. I think the podcast was just fine, and for people to take it as something that it wasn't, I think is ridiculous. I think that Rarebird's write up on his site was very harsh. In his own words, he thinks that Dave said that he thought it was firing Nerf instead of firing bullets. It was a pretty harsh article. It was kind of unwarranted. I mean, if you want to take that up with them, you have a direct line of communication with the Bourbon Pursuit guys, and you have a direct line of communication with Fred. Maybe take it up with them first. See what they think about it. I think that it was a step way, way too far. I don't think that it was handled particularly well, and I don't think the community outcry has been handled particularly well. I thought it was a fairly, for the conversation that was happening, I thought it was a fairly innocent video. And that's my take on it. I think it was a great podcast. I think it was a great interview. I think they did a great job. And I think that people are making it far into something that it's not, which happens way too much in the bourbon world. In the news, Elijah Craig rye 94 proof at $29.99, but it will only be released in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Oregon. Not Kentucky. You claim to have a product that is named after the quote-unquote father of bourbon. Bullshit story, as with all stories in bourbon. And you're not going to release it in the state of Kentucky. That is a baffling decision. Which leads into our next story, that Wild Turkey decided to go ahead and come out and trump them by releasing a rare breed rye that is coming at cask strength from their quality rye casks and will be available in Kentucky and all other markets. And that is where the cornerstone comes into. I think that the rare breed rye is one of the most exciting posts I've seen in a long time because Wild Turkey rye is phenomenal. They stick to one style of rye. It is a Kentucky barely legal rye. This is a fantastic rye. Oh my God. I find more complexity in it each time. So cheers to Wild Turkey for doing that. I think rare breed rye is going to be a big hit. I think Elijah Craig rye will not be a big hit. And I am also worried that it is going to take stock away from Rittenhouse, which is already a 100 proof product that is age stated, or at the very least bottled in bond, so we know it's 4 years old. The Elijah Craig rye, not even age stated. Just saying extra aged doesn't mean anything, Heaven Hill. You all have gone over the edge, as usual. Next up on the news line, Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible. He claimed 3 Sazerac products were the top whiskeys. Full proof, 1792 full proof, which I've got one somewhere. Right here. It's a great product, I guess. There are some really missed barrels on this where it is really dry and astringent and just comes off hot. This is not a whiskey of the year. It's a very nice product to have from Sazerac in 1792, but it is not a whiskey of the year. W.L. Weller, great. The last 2 years of W.L. Weller have not been that great compared to prior years. And Thomas H. Handy, which for us won rye of our 18 rye lineup. That is a great rye, no questions. But come on, Jim Murray is paid by Sazerac. He is basically a Sazerac advertiser at this point. That's all I have to say about that. Another Wild Turkey Master Keep, or another Wild Turkey product, Wild Turkey Master's Keep 2019, bottled in bond, 17-year-old. I'm really excited for that. That is going to be crazy cool to see Wild Turkey not put out a 101 proof product, but an actual bottled in bond product out of a bonded warehouse at 100 proof, fully age stated. That will be the Master's Keep line for 2020, and I am super excited to see that bottle. I think that will be a phenomenal bottle of whiskey. Let's see. Officially, there are 2 times the number of barrels aging in Kentucky to people. It's about time. It's a great number. It's great to see that continuing to rise to meet pre-prohibition stats, to meet the 1950 stats, to meet the 1960 stats, and hopefully we'll get to the 1970 stats of the amount of bourbon being produced. I met with the guys from Foregate and did a sampling of their up-and-coming releases. There's a review of Batch 2 on our site. Batch 3, the toasted, should be hitting shelves right now. That their multiple stave selection. That is a project with Kelvin that they did, and it was really, really good. And Batch 4 is the barrel strength, just Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I believe it's 9 year, 9 month. That was phenomenal. That was some great cask strength whiskey. So I really like what the guys at Foregate are doing. I'll be interested to hopefully get them on the podcast. We will see what we can do about getting them on. Let's see. Last few pieces of news. We're just going to keep rolling right on through. Kentucky Owl announces their dry state bourbon. Kentucky Owl has gone completely off the rails if they hadn't before. Confiscated was trash. It was a trash whiskey that they were trying to charge an exceptional amount of money for. Mediocre at best. This has the proof. It's 115 proof, but with the words, let me read this. This is the Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, dry state, extremely rare blend. Following the 18th Amendment and passage of the Volstead Act, America went into a dry state. Our GM Deadman distillery closed forever. This rare blend pays homage to this consequential event. What does any of that even mean? Put an age statement on it. Give us some details. Be transparent. Everyone else in the industry is moving towards transparency. This is more, I'm sure they will charge a ridiculous fortune for this bottle, and it will not be worth it. Do not pay that. That said, their batch 3 of their rye is a really great release, but not for the price. There's a lot of complexity in that rye. It's a really great rye. I think batch 1 was the best combination of right here. Batch 1 was the best combination of price to quality. Batch 2 was not good. Batch 3 was really, really great, but I would not spend that kind of money on it. 2 final pieces of bourbon news. Angel's Envy has something called the Cellar Collection coming. It is a Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey finished in tawny port wine barrels at 111.6 proof. Something a little different. I don't generally care for their cask strength releases recently, but if this is under their normal ridiculous pricing for cask strength, which is $200, then it might be something worth looking at. If it's priced up there with their other 2 finished whiskeys that are, proofed up, no thanks. That it's just not going to be worth the $200. And finally, Heaven Hill. I just had to slam on you all one more time for taking the select stock, which has always been just a really interesting set of releases with really fantastic whiskey that is kind of a Kentucky only thing. They have their 18-year wheated. This is their what is this one called? Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey finished in a second oak barrel. This is basically their double oaked. It's 110 proof. I've had a couple of these. These are really, really good. This is only 6 years old, but I think this is fantastic. They've always done really interesting things with that. Much like Parker's, it feels like they are trying to destroy the line by doing a 90 proof version of this. What is it? Hold on, I have to read this. It is Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, aged for 6 years, then finished in Good Folks Company bourbon barrel aged cold brew coffee barrels for an additional 2 weeks. Are you out of your minds? This is jumping the shark on select stock. Oh my goodness. What else can we talk about for just the final closing minutes of here? We'll talk about how Fred has been doing his Pappy off, and the last thing that won was WB Saffel beat 23 year. Let's see. I've got it down here somewhere. I'm sure I do. Right here. I did a review on this. It's up on our site. I did it out of the full Whiskey Baron series. This is yet another turkey product that's killing it. This is 107 proof. This is really, really good. I would say it compares with the 15-year-old Russell's limited edition release. Great whiskey. I don't know that it's the top of the top of the top, but it really is some great whiskey. His final, or maybe not, this is probably not the final. He is doing a third one of those tonight. So we'll see what these end up going against. We'll see what Pappy 23 ends up going against. I think he's doing it until the bottle empties. So with that, that's the whiskey news. We finally caught up. I will be doing a review on the Reddit bottle that we got. I will be doing a full Cornerstone review with this guy. Hoping to have a couple of more reviews coming up here soon. And that's really all that we have right now. We will come up with another podcast. We're going to try and do a Buffalo Trace to Stag Jr. to George T. Stagg. Is the premium really worth it? So stay tuned for that one. With that, you all have a great evening. Cheers. Drink some bourbon, drink some rye. Enjoy.